it's true. There's a lot of nerves that do a lot of things.
So say just a random quantity. I don't know if this is accurate at all, but say you have 6 different types of nerve cells. If those 6 were not there, could anything be felt by an organism?
No.
Maybe not. Unless there's another type of nerve cells that just isn't in human. It could be, maybe it exists, but it's just not familiar to human. And yeah.
Not really, because nerve cells are the whole sensory system. But I suppose you technically have like olfactory receptors and taste buds and whatnot. Yeah, but unless they're connected to a central nervous system, you won't be able to interpret the information or know what things are feeling. That's the whole thing about nerve cells. It's how they feel.
Do crabs? They have what? They have like a simple nervous system, right? Or they don't have.
Most of them, yeah. They have nerves.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, they seem to twitch their body. Like, say one removes their shell or something while they're alive, their body does react, but it's so hard to know. Are they aware of the pain at a level that is conscious, I guess, or at a level that they can understand? I'm having trouble finding.
Yeah, if involuntary movements are attached to the nervous system, not really. Right. It's usually just a muscle contracting.
Because, like, I'm thinking, I guess not much is known about this stuff from what I've seen so far. Not amnesia. So, when one is going to get a surgery, anesthetics.
Anesthesia?
Okay? So,
yeah,
anesthesia. I've read, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it stops the brain from communicating with other parts of the brain, and the pain can't be felt during that time under the anesthetic. So your body could be going through, you get stabbed and cut open and stuff, and you probably won't feel it unless the anesthesia isn't enough, or it runs out when you're partway into surgery, and then you have a really bad traumatic time.
Yeah, that's how anesthesia functions.
Right, so I'm trying to see if the cells not communicating stops the pain, if that's what it is. Cells not able to communicate.
Yes.
And I guess nerve cells are what are involved there, so.
Yes.
Okay, so crabs have they may not have the same nerve cells, but maybe the ones they have allow them to? Because I'm sure you can have a human who hasn't learned any language or anything. They would experience probably pain if you were to, punch them in the gut or something. Though they maybe can't put it into language, but they would still.
You're losing me, Max. Yes, because they can still feel things even if they can't communicate. Gotcha. I got your allegory.
Yeah, that's kind of. I guess that's kind of the point I'm stuck at of like other animals, and it's definitely a case by case basis. I guess like species level, individual level would be even better, but it's not. It'd be a lot harder.
Trying to find.
I'm trying to.
I think so. You're trying to define what a sensation is, because like if you have a taste bud sitting in a void, and it tastes the sugar sitting next to it, does it really even taste it unless it's connected to a central nervous system that could tell the surrounding organism that there's sugar there? Or is just a taste bud tasting it enough?
Yeah, no, that's very spot on.
Like, fuck, maybe. I suppose I don't know. It's just
No.
a hermit living in the woods, have an entirely human experience, even if they aren't able to communicate with the greater society? Or does it make them inherently inhuman to not communicate?
Oh no, that's a whole other topic. What does it mean to be human? All right.
I think it's the same exact one, just what is human versus what is feeling.
Well, I would say human is like maybe in the there would have to be a cutoff point from the other ancestors. I'd say, say you go a couple tens of thousands of years back. You have a just some kind of human, some kind of Homo sapien. Yeah, and then has the ability to, it's bipedal. Well, I got a little thing here. So it's bipedal. It domesticates food, right? So it's not. It can raise animals in a certain area, like farms and whatnot, grow some plants.
Sure, some agriculture.
Hunt. Yeah, uses some tools. I'm glad I took these notes back then. It has the ability to use speech, a human, due to the vocal cord bone. I don't remember quite the name. There's a special structure that allows the ooh-ahs to become language. It's more complex.
Yeah, Phil, we're never going to reach an end point. That's the goal.
Yeah, Phil, definitely trying to see if something can be learned from this and then applied to larger life. Such as the cost of having to do our own thinking. Feels bad. Also feels good.
I don't know, because I feel like your philosophy mess disregards a lot of previous thinkings. You don't take into account any history on the matter, which makes it a very limiting philosophical take. I dare say it's just a series of hot takes as you ruminate about things.
Oh, that's exactly what it is, and I wouldn't purport it. Damn it! Try to use the word. Purport it? What is it? Are you familiar with the word? Purport? Purport it?
You wouldn't purport otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just random musings trying to solidify some kind of arbitrary but useful mindset to help, guide things like ethics. As for considering things of history, I mean, I think there could potentially be value. I just haven't really done it, given how broad and vast it is. And I don't know. This discussion is part of taking others' opinions, considering them at the least. From someone who actually knows some stuff and has opinions that could be quite valuable.
A noble cause, to be sure.
Do oysters, they don't have a nervous system, right?
Oysters?
Right. Oyster clams.
They may, but I believe you're just trying to go for invertebrate without a central nervous system. Some simplified life form.
Right.
There's jellyfish, which are always good. Can never go wrong with jellyfish.
Yeah, I'm trying to just decide now what I want to eat and what I don't want. As a courtesy. So, like, crabs are questionable. They might be okay, as well as lobsters. Octopi, I think they're off limits because of their nervous system, possibly. they're more advanced than other sea dwellers and quite intelligent, I think. So maybe there's something there, like able to solve puzzles and stuff.
Thanks for the one bitty, Phil. Let's see what you... I don't know, like... Cause you don't want to eat things that are sentient in and of themselves, because you feel like you'd be doing harm to other sentient things.
Sure, and I understand, at least in my personal view, there's no obligation I have at all to that, but, I mean, why not, at least sometimes, try and minimize the things suffer in my consumption of them. I could do a way better job, but I don't know. It's something, I guess.
Yeah, it just sounds like veganism with extra steps.
I don't think I'd want to go vegan for sure, though. Maybe there could be occasional periods of vegetarianism, but I do like some animal products. Like eggs I don't have a problem with. I'm pretty sure there's sensations coming from those fetus embryos in there.
Poultry industry is pretty brutal.
Yeah, that is unfortunately. I'd say if one can afford it and wants to, be a bit nicer, one should try and find humane products. Those tend to cost more and they're not as easy to find, but there are some out there. I do consume some of them. I'm fortunate enough to be able to get such stuff just because by luck I was able to be born in a not poverty-ridden family.
Flex on the impoverished, unemployed streamers in the chat.
Feels bad. Like,
yeah, it does.
Like, what the hell, dude? Like, it's just so unfair sometimes,
You want to talk about unfair? This man's got more orange juice than Mr. Simpson, that definitely did not commit those murders.
You have a lot of orange juice?
August Sinha has a lot of orange juice.
Or are you talking about the one you're fighting?
I'm talking about the one that I'm fighting.
Okay. Can one be unemployed if one has never had a job, though?
Yes. To have a job is the natural state of being.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I would encourage people, if they can afford it, try and eat more and stuff. Though there's no obligation, but why not? Fuck it. Stuff usually tastes pretty good too. Non-GMO, whatever. Could be some hipster, modern stuff, possibly, but I don't know. Just an idea to share. With the 5 viewers in chat.
What's going on with Phil? Yeah. Meat's good.
Meat? Huh?
I'd argue that the bigger point for veganism is the existence of other animals is destroying the planet. So very inefficient food sources.
And one may ask, why care about the planet? Well, one lives on the planet. One probably doesn't want to suffer anymore. So that could be something that potentially.
I suppose
Meat
suffering
is
is
really
all.
good to give up. I think it's an important part for many people's diets. So finding a way to, like, I think we discussed this lightly in the past, and you probably heard about it, but and not insects in this case, but could be an idea. But these artificially cultured meats using cells from living animals, which may be something in the future, and it's still being tweaked and messed with.
Yeah,
but I'd be down to try some cultured meat if it doesn't cause suffering, just some muscular tissue.
Right. I mean, you still have the issues of the amino acids don't come from nowhere. I have to imagine it's not easy to synthesize proteins from effectively nothing.
Oh, but yeah, for now, it's still, to my knowledge, relative thing. But maybe in the next couple decades, it'll be something, an option for people. Hopefully affordable, but
Yeah.
yeah, no. If it tastes okay, I mean, probably even if it's not as great as meat, it'd be something that I probably would consider. If the nutrition is there. Now, if the nutrition is not as much there for whatever reason, I'd have to, I don't know, I'd be hesitant.
Right. Supplement it with the real deal.
Just put a little of that delicious powder on top of it for that, all in the name of health.
Get those water-soluble macronutrients that you require. Oh, that's
Maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
just gonna say because watched a video essay last night about the meal replacement shakes and the whole idea of not eating food. It's a noble pursuit, but ultimately falls apart because people require things like, you know, food. It's difficult to separate out the nutrition that's required for life from just any other random foodstuffs to satisfy. I mean, that too.
Yeah, because Phil was asking what's going wrong.
What's wrong? Nothing's wrong with you, to my knowledge, Phil. Just, you know, meat industry bad.
Let's see, so I think just by being alive, that is going to directly or indirectly negatively affect other things that are alive. No. Even if one were born and consumed nothing to a quick and timely death, one would. I mean, I suppose one could be food for scavengers,
Yeah.
but you know, taking some air and stuff, and
Quick and timely death.
and having enough nutrition to become a big, and then be born. That's also stuff that is more than will be necessary to not be pregnant.
Right, because, you know, existing as a drain on this world.
So I guess with that assumption, assuming many people do want to continue this thing called existence, which I'm pretty sure many of us.
At least some of them want to live. I don't know if everyone wants to live, but it's enough to call it a common goal.
I think one of the fastest ways to have less suffering is to have less people.
Sure.
So, yeah. Educate people on safe sex and make it not taboo. Outside of me. That's not the only fix, of course, but something. Now, some may say that's a deviant way of thinking, but that's just their opinion.
Their wrong opinion.
Their wrong opinion.
You're gonna go
Let's see, what
resummon.
have I learned from the crab conversation? Or the nervous cell. Okay, oysters, okay. Crabs, questionable. Human, not edible. Or excuse me, humans should not. Lessons learned.
I don't know, you could probably eat people.
I mean, technically yes, but probably shouldn't. It's like nothing stopping one, for example, from eating a pillow, though it would be a bad idea. Just taking a big old bite out of styrofoam.
Sure, just because it provides no value to consume. It's just a siphon. I don't know. Boss Bill wants to eat people.
Dang it, Boss Bill.
You're gonna say there's something wrong with... Oh. So I think a lot of the inherent mistrust of eating people comes from, do the people willingly volunteer themselves to be eaten?
Could you imagine just someone wanting to be eaten for whatever reason, and I don't know.
Yeah.
You just say you're not allowed to.
Sounds rude.
I mean,
are you really gonna stop the vor enthusiasts?
I mean, as weird as it may sound, and it is like, I don't know.
Just sounds like you're anti-vor, which is
like,
as you know, kink shaming. That's
I guess one could force people
pretty not good.
to not die and, you know, produce in society, but maybe it's just the structure of society that doesn't allow this.
It's true. It just feels like you want people to contribute to a society. Because you assume that that's their goal and worth. Their utility is determined strictly by what they can provide.
The last I checked, you personally disagree with that idea? You?
Yes. For society to exist, we have to assume that humans have infinite value intrinsically, regardless of whatever they may do with their time and energy.
But how could you convince someone to adopt such a rangeable besides, telling them that the mustachioed man who would break into their house once a year and eat their cookies and milk? Damn the claws, you deserve that trial and your punishment.
What was the verdict on your Santa Claus trial?
Since it died out, and like the second stream, a few people were there. The third stream, there was like no one there. I just basically made it being that he's not guilty. Some of it from societal influences that maybe I shouldn't talk about Santa Claus when children could potentially pass by the channel, though it was more mature.
Rude. If you tell me that Santa Claus isn't real one more time, we're gonna show you how wrong it is to eat people by consuming you.
Oh no. Wait, what am I saying? Oh.
Oh no. This was in the vor the whole time.
Plot twist. Oh, let's think about it. Full die.
Yeah.
They are a good meat hunt. I mean, that's another thing. Like, if you think about it, it's not technically that crazy an idea. If someone's for sure dead, why not just use their meat for something, even if it's not for other humans to consume? Like, there's other animals out there that if they consume that meat, they won't end up murderizing other animals that may have some kind of sin.
Right. Utilizing a investment, if you will.
Like, even if it's a voluntary thing, how is that not? How is that a problem at all? I don't see the issue. Like, if someone says that they would rather their body be fed to like some wild animals or whatever, as long as it isn't too messed up, like, and too
Right.
unsanitary.
Diogenes' way out, just chuck him back in the woods to be eaten by the woodland creatures in which he took his life.
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of a reason why that shouldn't, and I don't have any in my mind. If someone wants to do it, now if they want to do the whole funeral thing, yada yada, then maybe that can be an option as well. But
I mean, there's
I don't know.
prions if you eat the brain, but otherwise it's just people, you know, meat.
Like, besides the whole mortuary industry and funeral homes, which probably make a good amount of money, especially in times like a pandemic.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's all privatized and all owned by one big company. Don't have a funeral. It's a fucking waste.
Let's. There's money for at the way things are now. Just like the video games predicted. Why do you think you always get souls when things die? Or some other kind of in-game currency?
Clean utility for the bodies. Checks out. It's not just a reward system for doing things the game wants you to do. It's truly just propaganda to tell you to eat people.
Oh no. Damn. Let's see. I wonder if thinking in the opposite direction will yield anything helpful. Probably not, but instead of thinking of human utility while people are alive, is there some kind of utility that can be gotten from when people aren't alive anymore?
Yeah. I thought we just established that people that are dead are delicious meat.
Perhaps. Even if that's added or not added, there's still a lot of foodstuffs at the moment.
Reduction in consumption, and that person's no longer existing in the market, as it were. 'Cause what's better than two people living a moderate lifestyle? You could have a corpse and one person living an extravagant lifestyle. Which, you know, sounds like pro-overpopulation propaganda.
Wait, pro-overpopulate. Wouldn't it be anti-overpopulation propaganda?
No, it's pro because it promotes the myth of overpopulation.
It promotes it.
That overpopulation's a thing when it's not.
Is it not? That's a hot take.
It's not.
I don't know about that, Carl. Maybe. I don't think I have quite such a strong opinion on that, but I may lean to there being a lot of people. Maybe it's just poor use of the land that's available.
There you go.
And distribution of resources being distributed terribly.
And that's more so the issue. It's all poor management.
Boss Philliam, feel free to share your opinion. If
Could
you're
have head
wrong,
onto that, but you're not gonna. Don't do it. Keep your cynical opinions to yourself.
Share, boss.
Stay to Hazel. Feels bad. Feels bad dying to Hazel.
It's all fun and games until Boss Phil solves the world the problem through his whim. A thought that appeared into his head out of the void of consciousness, whatever the void is.
Turns out Boss Bill is actually a demigod just playing with us the whole time.
That moment when it's all memes, but the world's so mysterious one never truly knows.
Imagine dying unironically. I mean, sure, ironically, all the time. But unironically, not even serving an agenda?
That I don't understand. People die unironically often, don't they?
What a bunch of fucking plebs.
Oh no. Yeah, it's up to you, boss. I could feel the electrical currents in my brain having functioned as they haven't functioned in some days.
Yeah,
Now,
I shouldn't have taken a break. The
what to do
hiatus
with
made
all
you
these,
weak.
all these weeks without big brain stuff. Return to monkey, only anime wham.
Oh no. You and your 2D waifus.
I can't, like, I personally can't, I don't think that'd be something I'd be down for in preference to
The 3D
3D,
waifus?
because, yeah, now if there's 4D, hey, maybe. Whatever 4D would be.
An interdimensional being that happens to have a shadow cast in this world, but exists beyond your conventional understanding of what can be.
On second thought, 4D may not be preferred, but 3D may be better as a 3D.
Or there's the other interpretation of 4D where they're just beyond time, but that's some weak sauce.
As Boss Philium admits his deepest guilt and faults to St. Tree Bellvine. Oh no. The secrets are coming out.
Well, I guess it's time to ban the St. Tree Bellvine.
Not like...
It's actually exactly like this.
Alright, so what was anything learned from this conversation on your end? Did you get the very simple, at least, satisfaction of being able to share your thoughts and opinions?
Yes. I got that sweet dopamine from social interaction. Now I can return to my COVID bunker. Not speak to people for at least 3 or 4 days. Maybe longer, maybe less. Who knows?
Yes, existing. Well, you do have roommates now, right? Like, I assume you do. It's been a couple weeks. I don't think you've taken over the house as the head honcho.
I mean,
apartment.
I have taken over the house as head honcho, but that's completely irrelevant to the other people that happen to live here.
I see. If you want, you can discuss how that experience, though they may be around, do not have.
Yeah. The one may or may not live here. I'm not entirely certain. They're here sometimes. I think they spend weekends with their parents and the rest of the time in their room playing Overwatch. It's pretty neat because they're on the executive board for the university's Overwatch teams. They're in the cool part of esports.
It's a shame I don't play Overwatch, so I don't understand the value. But I'm sure I believe it.
It potentially has value. Think of football. You know what football is? You got it in your head.
Yes.
People like football. Overwatch is pretty much the football of gaming. Everyone knows what Overwatch is. Everyone likes Overwatch. Look, it's somehow the largest commercial esport for reasons. And they're into that.
As Baker lays down the. Have I not played over? I might have played Overwatch in the past. It's just been someone else's system using up their electricity just because.
Potentially. Just TF2, but Blizzard owned. Yeah. Boss feels it's slippery guy. It's a slippery snail. Oh no.
Huh.
And the other one's a chef for a catering company, works with an investment firm. So I'm like, yo, you work with an investment firm, hook me up. Fam. It's like, no, you misunderstand. I cook food. Oh.
I see. Plot twist. Well, this is where Cog realizes his lifelong dream that he had forgotten since childhood. He wanted to be a chef all along.
I don't know, because I had another friend that's like actually a straight up restaurant chef, and I hated it.
Oh, it's
As
certainly
soon
not
as
an easy job.
As soon as they got home, they never wanted to cook again. I'm like, wow.
Wait, they went only once. They went in for one day and then they left.
No, I mean, like, they did it professionally, and did not want to cook in their home life, because, you know, it's a grueling chore.
I can see how that could happen. Well, McDonald's, show your value now, though you're hated by many. I hear lots of hate against McDonald's, but I don't know if it's actually translating because they're still a multi-million-dollar.
McDonald's is a real estate company. Don't let them fool you.
Listen here, Bucko. Not everybody understands the term view. Real estate, as in, when I hear real estate, I think of some group that deals with the buying and selling of homes.
Yes.
Or and the rent.
They own land, rent it out to franchise owners, and the franchise owners make food. So that's usually one of the easiest ways to make money on a spot of land that happens to have a restaurant on it.
Well, I'm convinced McDonald's is not a franchise. It is real estate.
Ooh. It is
franchise as well.
Right.
It's considered the amalgamation of its parts.
It uses the franchise model, but that was back in 2008 when we had the Great Recession. They went through and bought nearly all the property they had restaurants on. It was not been great since then the franchise owners have to pay rent to McDonald's instead of rent to some, or not paying rent, because, you know, landlords are evil and don't deserve rights. Why aren't they strung up in the streets?
Murder?
You assume that landlords are people. unfortunately, they renounced their personhood by being a landlord.
Oh no, not the P word. Well,
It's true. I have
who
said it.
shall be granted? Who shall be granted personhood? Not. Some would say not every human is a person. Okay.
Did I die? Yes. No, I actually won the invasion. I just went to go heal. So at least in my limited definition, a person is anyone who's willing to participate in a society.
I mean, at this point, it's kind of forced for most people. It's necessary, even not mandatory though, I suppose. But
Oh no, it's mandatory. If they don't participate in a society, you launch them into the sun.
This is why the cult of the Sun Bros is so powerful. It's solar powered, but
Oh no. Yeah.
oh, so I don't know. We kind of went past the topic of
It's true.
if this society was changed. So we kind of got to the point. What was it? Education is useful, mandatory education, and then we discussed a voluntary kind of society where people can work if they want. Otherwise, they'll have their basic needs given to them.
Sweet, sweet basal income to, you know, reflect the post-scarcity society.
Do you think that you would honestly do much labor if it was all on a voluntary basis? You wouldn't much pressure stuff?
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good.
After being effectively unemployed for 9 days and feeling the need to do things, I have to say, society where work is not inherently required would still function because people would still do things without the incentive of the ability to eat.
What if people do things after said 9 days? Though I know it's random time. For an example, they do things that are fun instead
That's
of
even better.
labor.
That's even better.
Better in what way?
They get to have fun. Unless the human existence is not intended to produce joy.
The thing is though, like, I'm having trouble believing that people could actually, especially the ones who are contributing to their volunteering, would be okay with that and not maybe deem it injustice. I think some of them would, and that some of them may be the majority, or whoever volunteers. Free.
That's a possibility.
Look, even Boss Phil being honest, he wouldn't. I'm not sure if I would do it often. Probably sometimes, because I can, but having no obligation. Because it doesn't survive. I don't know.
And don't do it all the time. Just do whatever you want. As long as
That'd
people
be
are just
nice, but-
doing whatever they want, things will get done. Does this man have a back?
There would need to be a way then, if that were the structure, to prevent people from. Because surely
Freeloading?
those that volunteer would have more kind of what?
To prevent freeloading? We already have a freeloading issue and society functions.
I thought you said slavery. I was very
Slavery? The ultimate showdown. Yeah, I want him to swing so I can stab his back, but he's not swinging or doing anything. Oop, there we go. Oh no.
So, yeah, surely those who volunteer, would they have more say into how society should be and the structure? Or would they have the same say as those who do not wish to participate?
No, they'd have the same say. Otherwise you're creating a terrible hierarchy.
So if they have the same say, let's see.
Right? Because each person has infinite value. So there's no reason to differentiate them to a hierarchy.
I don't see how that works logically though. Like how it exists logically. Like one could think in that manner. Maybe it'll yield better results, but I don't.
Not tracking.
I'm not sure how you're using the term infinite. I'm assuming you mean it can't be quantified. There is value that isn't quantifiable by any means of comparison.
Right. I just mean without limit. The greatest possible utility. There's no way to measure anything against it and be like, yeah, sure, we could have one person, but why don't we have 500 shirts sewn instead and work this person to death? Because the human life is worth less than 500 shirts. You say no. The human life is probably worth more than 500 shirts. Don't work them to death.
But infinite is not the same as saying having a lot. That's infinite having no limit. I don't know. Because then at what point, why is the cutoff just for humans? Why not include other sentient beings as time passes? Like, I don't know, maybe you would include them, but giving them infinite value just arbitrarily doing it?
No, the arbitrary distinction is between sapient beings and sentient beings. Whereas UI and people are sapient. It's in our best interest to interact socially. So as long as other people are going to exist, we have to assume that they have value to allow them to think that we have value. So otherwise,
I don't see that logical flow though.
All
Like,
right.
say you have some people who assume people have infinite value and others don't. Then it falls right there. Like people, I don't think they'd automatically assume. I mean, maybe they would automatically assume that people have such value, infinite. But
I'll be willing to agree that most current people thinking look at other people and think, wow, that doesn't contain infinite value. That could be used to sew a couple shirts. And that's how the current system fails us.
But would that system be? If people.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a utopia and not realistic. Unless the goal is the utopia, which maybe it should be.
Oh, the goal is
feasible.
utopia. I expect nothing less. I will accept nothing less than perfection.
Imagine being a doctor in such a society, or a surgeon.
So you don't even
having
have to imagine. Just look at Cuban doctors versus Cuban taxi drivers.
Are they paid the same?
The taxi drivers are paid significantly more than doctors.
Oh no.
And look, Cuba hasn't even collapsed. It just doesn't have a lot of doctors. The limit there is the doctors can go elsewhere.
Very few people would go and volunteer to be a surgeon, especially like now. If you look at it, many years of schooling will be needed to be maybe a decent doctor, or let's use surgeon as a lot of people would not do that, probably. So there'd be even less medical staff, and now there aren't that many to begin with.
No. I'd argue that you have a similar number because the people that are currently attending medical school aren't doing it for the money. They're doing it to practice medicine. And the specialists escaping you, the brain drain, is only a limit if you have a place for them to escape to. As long as we have a globalized community where they can never escape, you'll have no brain drain.
So people do it for, if people do it, don't do it for the money. I don't know. I think a lot of them, they have that inclination to like medical stuff, or they could handle it. You know, maybe it runs in the family and they're used to it or whatever. They're interested in the topic, but the money certainly helps. It's not. It should be better, but making six figures probably, like at least as a probably doctor with a PhD or something. I don't think it's that much. Especially not entry level or even registered nurses. I don't think they make that much.
I mean, RNs make enough.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't have to be six figures necessarily, good quantity, but that's definitely something people may consider when they're going to work in the medical profession. Like, imagine if doctors got paid as much as teachers. I'm sure there'd be a lot less doctors.
You might have enough teachers for once.
But there's less doctors. That's not good either.
I would like to optimistically believe that the fewer doctors you have, the more medical issues arise, which would mean a greater demand for doctors, more people become doctors.
But if it's voluntary,
yeah,
there wouldn't be that obligation. So you may see a small increase in doctors, but the rate of doctors increasing will be, I would assume, at a smaller rate than the amount of people with conditions that are in. If it's voluntary.
Potentially. The flows are not necessarily going to even out all the time. There's a chance you're going to have more sick people than medical professionals, but then you have people that die off, the market corrects itself.
What market if it's all voluntary based? And I mean, that's okay. There will be possibly more suffering than there is now. I mean, would there be? I'm actually not sure, because if people have their basic needs provided, in the long run, would that be?
I'd say there's definitely going to be suffering in any transition, but the Minarchus Utopia would certainly have less suffering than the current setup.
Imagine having, say people in a society, say you have 100,000, and of those 100,000, maybe, let's just say 100 of them are doctors.
Could it be 100 people and one of them are doctors to make smaller numbers?
No, let's say 1,000 people, and then one of them is a doctor. Because if it's voluntary, I'm making the assumption there'd be less doctors. I don't know if you want to make the assumption there would be more doctors, or a similar amount.
I feel like it'd be a similar quantity.
As the generations pass and the doctors are dead and then others take their place, some of them. There would need to be incentives to be doctor besides just
altruistic ability to help other people.
That doesn't. I don't know if that would do it for everyone. Honestly, for most people, it may not even be sufficient. But maybe society would be more willing to volunteer if they had a lot of the basic stuff they needed. They'd be in a better mood, possibly. I don't know.
Right. Like, I'm basing the entire Minocris Utopia on the assumption that people are altruistic. At least to a non-zero capacity. They're willing to help other people.
I see.
If that postulate does not hold true, society does not function.
I think there is a lot of altruism that people display. There's also a lot of egoism, and
It's true.
can one be complete? Is there a such thing like this saying? Something like, is there a such thing as a completely selfless act?
Never. It's always to some gain, to some end. There's no reason to do things without any reward. Just the reward does not necessarily have to be cash value. Or in the form of privileges over others.
An ethical dictatorship might be problematic if the dictator or those at the very top have questionable ethics. They do have the power, so if at a whim they decide to change it, cause the people to suffer, that's no bueno either.
It's true. You're just completely at their mercy. No way to control those with power. What a messed up society that would be if you just couldn't control the people in charge of you. Can you imagine?
So everyone having the ability to have a say is not
Yes.
that great. Very few people having the ability is not that great. Some, okay, most, if a lot of people, but most don't have the ability.
You need
Is
everyone
even
to
a
have...
midway point, is that even a good compromise, or is it just a problem
No.
of, like, existing? 'Cause that,
It's
like,
the issue of compromising between sense and nonsense, where you shouldn't, because then you're still in nonsense no matter what you do.
so who should be the head honcho? Should there be any head honchos? Because if there are no head honchos, then everyone would be head honcho.
Yeah, no, there is no hierarchy.
I
thought
don't know
we-
if that's possible. With how humans' brains work, how humans are, is that even... Alright. It's time to... Alright, neuroscience, show us what you got. You got to just change the human brain and make it so it works in such a fashion that it tends towards altruism almost all the time.
I
Baker's
assume...
anti-hot.
Baker's anti-honcho. Let's go. Let's take down the haunches.
So who would be... Nope. I don't see how that'd be possible. With humans as humans are at the moment. Like, even if you maybe educating them people, but like, so would that would have completely rid the hierarchy. I don't know.
I thought we established that we toss them into the sun if they don't respect the non-hierarchical system.
That just sounds like tyranny. That but,
It may be.
Sometimes it may be necessary. But that's assuming the one who does the sun launching is in the right to begin with.
Never mind, Baker just doesn't like the word honcho. They're not a part of the anti-hierarchical revolution.
see.
Yep. It's a
Have
shame.
you seen the sun?
Never. I've gone hollow.
Oh no.
Downright maddening. I might as well just pick up a tree branch and join these guys. Poor Kyle. Really getting the run around. Go get him. Boss Phil is sick and requires a doctor. But they don't believe that doctors would be willing to help them. What a shame.
Rip boss. I feel like I've reached the wall, at least for me. Like, it's so difficult. Is it just that there's no... Most of the solutions are bad, and some are only not terrible. Some are bad, but just... Can there be good? A good change that's realistic? I don't know. Like,
Yes.
assuming people are altruistic, I don't know if I can. And doing so may be fallacious and problematic. Maybe not for me or those around me, but when someone comes and stabs me in the gut because they didn't care how I feel or how I lived, just to satisfy their urges, I mean, maybe those people need to receive the penalty of not existing anymore, unless their brain structure can be. And now I'm rambling.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry for hijacking. Well, there was the option of just giving up.
Best ad for bits is an ad about Michigan. Just be pro-Michigan. Hey, speaking of derailing and rambling, what about those militia guys that want to go kidnap Gretchen Whitmer?
They want to do what to who?
Kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. The, you know, governor of Michigan. They're like, she's a tyrant. How dare she tell us not to go outside during a pandemic? We can go buy paint if we want to. Like, no, don't go to Home Depot. Literally everyone is going to Home Depot and you're killing each other. Stop it. So the FBI rounded up 6. I haven't heard them called white nationalists, but I'm going to call them white nationalists just for the sake of calling them neo-Nazis. It's a whole lot easier.
Labels.
It's a whole lot easier to just say, look at those fascist neo-Nazis wanting to kidnap a government leader. And actually worry about their genuine political leanings, which are probably also bad or worse.
What do you think about oppressive military rule, though it could lead to rebellion? And ethical oppressive.
Martial law always leads to rebellion and an overthrow of the military. Or you get a very long military rule and then Brazil. And Brazil is probably not the goal. Or
So
Brazil is your goal. You have very dark goals.
I'm not too sure of the state in Brazil, but I'm assuming it's not very ethical.
It's not great.
Okay. So it would need to be some force and restriction of freedom seems to have value, given our or a lot of it may have more value. But then you really have to make sure that there's not corruption in the ones who are able to limit that freedom. Because if there is, it's a huge problem.
true.
I really can't think of an overall solution that's coherent and actually would be applicable in a practical sense. It's almost like people have thought about this over thousands of years and had different answers.
It's true. Oh, yep. Areas like the chop zone, that's a technical solution.
Chop zone?
And shoot, what western coastline city was it? Portland. I feel like it was Portland, Oregon. It may have been Seattle. I was conflate the two, where they just kept the police out. We're like, hey, this is our community. You have no stay here. And the mayor was like, hey, could you not? And then the mayor was kept out. Like,
No, no.
oh, you just don't respect any authority outside of yourself. Yeah. Should we? I suppose not. And there was a big standoff for 100 days until eventually police cleared a line right through them. We're like, oh no, we need a place for the ambulance to get in because you need an ambulance. Okay. You just cleared a road right through the heart of this territory, and there's a lot of neo-Nazis on the border that want to shoot us. Weird. Anyway, we're just going to keep this road open. And then neo-Nazis came through with guns. It's like, oh, well, I guess that's the end of that.
So I wonder, authority, how it would tie to, I guess it'd be something. There will be authority, I think, it's just something that happens, but where it comes from is something. As you mentioned earlier, lightly, from oneself or from some external something.
So all authority comes from and goes to the will of the people. It's the only thing you have to respect is other people. No institutions.
And by respect, I mean consider their feelings and their wants and goals.
Yeah.
So one could respect someone, yet oppressed.
We'll see if they could get those egg gains. Don't, die and become a skeleton in the haunted house for next year. But, I don't know, missed.
Oh my Twitch stream started pausing and pausing it. That is
How
very
dare
odd.
you? You sound like you're not even a real viewer. You can't just let the Twitch stream roll.
This was meant. Oh no, it's doing. It's fixed. Well, I can't think of a better system than this current one, at least here in the U.S. With improvements. Guess I'll just fall back and cry in the corner and try and see where little changes could be made. Not that my opinion will probably affect anything on a larger scale. personally, not directly. But
It could. It's gone on too long. It's made my sick self tired. Go take a nap. Go take a nap, Phil. Rest.
So I guess that's my current. Yeah. Good.
That's how the capitalist machine gets you down, thinking that you have no power on your own. Just 'cause you have no capital behind your actions. Think I'm gonna die 4 times, Phil. How could you?
Hello, my friend Apathy.
I suppose. Sounds like a bad plan.
What plan?
To rely on apathy.
I mean, the other is changes that may or may not be better in the current system, and sadness from having empathy, too much empathy, and or sympathy, but probably
Apathy to current atrocities allows the atrocities to continue. You should be outraged and punching Nazis. Because the alternative is not being outraged and allowing them to just exist, which is hopefully agreeably bad.
That just sounds like violence with extra steps.
I mean, sure. It's violence in pursuit of less violence in the future.
I don't think that works, though. It just breeds a cycle of violence.
Ooh. Maybe it's true.
It's like the saying, you kill their brother, they kill your brother, and it just continues until one person decides, hey, maybe I won't get vengeance on them and try and establish some kind of peace or something. And decades from that point, maybe there could be assimilation and less hatred and unjustified discrimination. But it takes
an eye for an eye just makes everyone go blind.
What?
An eye for an eye just makes everyone go blind.
Yeah. That saying doesn't have its application, I suppose.
I feel like it's the exact same moral you're trying to press here. We should bury the hatchet.
Oh no, tell me I was secretly hippie all along. A hippie without any of the drugs? No!
That sounds like the worst possible combination. Why are you not doing drugs? You have some sort of worldly responsibility to remain sober?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called wanting a government job. To have it be.
Ooh. I don't know about that one. You may
I think, yeah.
End up immolated for wanting to be a part of the government.
Even
straight into the sun.
I think many, if many, say almost every drug was legal, which I don't think that should happen, but that's a whole different discussion.
That's a hot take, because legalize everything.
In our current society, I think that's a bad idea because of how important production is.
Again, post-scarcity, but also, just do drugs.
Like, even if we were to assume, say we assume that people are, at their core,
you have a lot of nerve being alive.
A lot of nerve being alive. Let's see. Not apathetic, damn, I keep forgetting the word. Not autistic.
Altruistic?
Altruistic, there we go. Damn, this has been a while. even if we assume that, drugs can alter perception. Some drugs, at a significant level.
It's true. It's the
When
goal of
addiction
many of
becomes
them.
a big problem for other people. So, yeah, I'd say maybe have some of them legalized, tech, and people educated on them, studies done on them to see if they cause more harm than help. Then maybe don't leave them legalized. But just saying everything is bad is probably not the option, because black markets exist. And
It's true. It's almost as though making things illegal doesn't stop people from doing them.
I mean, it stops some, but other people, it's irrelevant.
Just artificially increases the cost. Next thing I know, you're going to say the war on drugs was a good idea.
Hold on a second. That's too far. From the little I've heard about it, seems it was and involved some discrimination, possibly. And that in itself is pretty problematic.
It's true.
Unjustified discrimination.
It's weird. When it's difficult to criminalize people, you just criminalize things they do. That's pretty much the same thing.
Well, a person can do some kind of behavior, perhaps, that is problematic, but have other redeemable quality. So the whole person maybe shouldn't be completely made an enemy of everyone else and looked down upon. If there's room for change to do those things less often or completely stop, depending on the severity of what they've done.
It's true. No. It's far too much of the war on drugs is just criminalizing people and lifestyles.
I'd go as far as to say that even a hardcore drug addict shouldn't be considered. I guess I wouldn't say anyone's moral or immoral. People do moral and immoral things, but they themselves, it'd be hard to put them under any specific category for me, anyways.
I'll say it. It's not immoral to consume drugs.
The act itself. Oh, you got pushed off. Well, the act itself, I suppose, when viewed under a microscope, is not necessarily bad. At least for most drugs. Yes, depends.
It's not immoral to have a lifestyle that consumes drugs.
I think it depends on the context and how one is defining morality, or
No.
like
A lifestyle where you have to mow down people with your Tommy gun to keep them away from your cocaine stash. Maybe that's not great. As long as you think that you shouldn't be, mowing people down with a Tommy gun.
Of course not. Just use a Bowie knife instead. Save metal. I'm joking.
You say that, but I saw a narco-capitalist meme this morning. It's like I was getting mugged. So I pulled out my semi-auto M15, shot him. The ammunition cost me $300. Would have been better off just getting mugged. Could have just handed over the wallet and saved cash.
It's not entirely wrong from an economic perspective. And then you also have the cost that it takes to fund public employees who would need to go to the crime scene and deal with the situation, and possibly being arrested, which is whole self, costs money to keep people alive in prison and use facility.
It's true. It would be a shame if you cost society money by going to a private prison. I hate it when that happens. We agree that that's at least one thing you want to change about the current administration? You're like,
Wait,
wow,
what?
private prisons. 'Cause previously you're like, wow, I don't think there's anything I could do to change this system. I can't think of a idealistic other system I want to change to.
In a practical sense, there are many things I could think of, and I think I've mentioned some of them. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I don't think my opinions will bear any realistic weight for the vast majority of things, if anything. At least not at the moment. Yeah, I haven't looked too much into private prisons, but if I'm not mistaken, one of the main things is get more people in here, get more money and funding, which I think in itself, there are better ways for many quote-unquote crimes to stop people from doing certain things. And tossing them in a jail cell or prison cell for X amount of time tends to make people even worse, and sometimes just to survive in the prison or jail. So probably shouldn't do that often.
It's true. It's all about that recidivism.
Yeah, that recidivism, pretty not good.
I talk about pretty not good. It's YOLO? Oh no.
I'm wondering, don't law enforcement have the ability to choose whether or not to enforce a law?
Yes.
Is it at the cost of their jobs, though, or is it up to them to make the decision?
I feel like it should be evident that absolutely nothing can cost them their jobs.
I don't know. I think it depends on the place. Sadly, there's a lot of corruption in many areas, and that in itself is another problem in society.
Yeah.
Because laws...
Corruption's not great.
Like, I don't take the route of blaming some, I'd even say many officers. I think a lot of the problems lies in the laws. So I could blame politicians and call for them to be dragged into the streets. However, maybe there's a better way to do things. Have better laws, better training, so they won't act like complete apes. These people who influence others' life.
You disrespect apes. Yeah.
I mean,
I'd argue that the legislative situation's not great, but usually fine, and a lot of times it comes down to the enforcement. There was a wave of chokehold bans for some unrelated reason. Like, but wait, wasn't that already a law? Well, yeah, but they didn't do it.
I mean, there are a lot of laws that are outdated, realistic. Like,
it's true.
What is one of them?
I
think
I feel like
one can't even. Yeah.
I feel like a chokehold isn't an outdated law that needs to be updated, though.
Oh, I'm saying laws in general. There's a lot of them fixing. The choking one, I haven't looked into it specifically, but it does sound like it's a problematic way to deal with someone. So, like, say you have a stupid law, like, I think in one state it's like one can't sing in their shower at a certain time of night. I mean, it'd probably be nice to not be super rowdy, but how loud do some people actually sing, and how thin are the walls? imagine being able to legally be arrested because one happens to say, "Oh my."
Right, and it's more just a public nuisance issue if you're disturbing the peace.
Sure, and I mean, some could say there's value there, but I know like there's other laws that are just
Absurd.
absurd. Yeah.
You can't be a unmarried woman walking around the street on a Sunday afternoon eating an ice cream cone. That's, halal.
Oh no, especially not an ice cream cone. So laws which are affected by lobbying, which is kind of back to that point long ago. Lobbying, which is affected by having lots of monies and influence, connections, when you have the head honchos in Congress voting by party lines instead of stuff that might actually be more reasonable situation, that's a big problem.
Yeah. Partisanship is very bad, especially when you have one party with a bunch of absolute centrists. I'd go so far to say he's dead centrist. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that there's only two political parties, the Democrats would like to opt to be absolute dead center on any issue. And, the greedy capitalist ghouls that wanted to have an actual fascist represent them.
I mean, I don't know why there's so much emphasis on just Republican or Democrats. I mean, it may be a hot take, but I think both of them may have some things to consider and apply. And not every single position of either side should be adopted and is the right way to do things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't want to be torched in the streets or anything.
That's where you and I differ.
Wait a second. I just hope I'm not the one being torched. You have a privilege to torch if you want.
You aren't some filthy horseshoe centrist, are you? And you're probably safe in the near future.
Oh no. You see that man that just fell? That will do people.
First they came for the horseshoe centrists. I didn't stop them because, fuck horseshoe centrists.
Oh no. I mean, I guess in normal people, if you get enough people together for an idea, they could lobby as well.
Right, and that's
lobbying.
The issue with trying to outlaw corporations is corporations is how people organize. It's the legal structure. If you just said, hey...
Not outlaw corporations, but the influence of lobbying, if it is such to an effect that only some people who aren't even elected officials, they're not elected officials to begin with, who are able to influence the votes. Maybe they provide funding for a certain party or certain candidates, a lot of funding, if their views are adopted or presented. Like, what is that? Sounds messed up. And I'm sure there's a better way to do things than that.
Yeah, buying politicians is pretty bad.
How could you say such a thing?
I know, maybe controversial, but I know it's all the part of my liberal agenda.
How dare you? How to stop the mind of politicians. Chapter 1. You can't give up.
Oh, I thought we were just going to execute all the politicians.
Well, even if one were to take that even if one were to take that crazy route, if you think about it, like, that's not to stop people from once again coming to that in the future, and even executing them again. In the meantime, it'll be problematic.
It's
and
true.
Who's doing the executing? Who's to say they won't become corrupt? Maybe they choose to execute some politicians that. I guess I'm just adding stuff to it, but it doesn't really.
It's true. I think we're missing the bigger issue of what about when the guillotine blades get rusty? Has no one considered the guillotines in this scenario? Did they consent to being used?
The guillotines didn't ask, but I think you're missing the bigger issue. Did the tree consent to being cut down, or being able to hold the weighty iron that's going to drop?
Alright. You can't just hang them from trees. Trees have... No, wait. Trees don't have rights. We're fine.
Maybe that's just an issue that'll be recurring, having corruption with politicians. Because, like, in some other countries, sometimes they'll even go end up, well, like, say an example like Mexico or something, they'll kill a politician who's been corrupt, like maybe stolen the money or something, that was supposed to be for a certain area, given by, say the U.S. gives some money during recovery efforts from some kind of hurricane or whatever. They just take them out in the streets and kill them, or maim them or something. But there's still lots of corruption in places like Mexico. So is that really doing anything effective in the long run?
It's at least cathartic in the short term, but I'd argue it could be a decent goal to just execute every corrupt politician.
But does it actually dissuade corruption, or does it just encourage more sneaky corruption? And then maybe even ways to reduce the way people can? Because say you just take people's I probably shouldn't go to this route. This goes into gun argument, so this is not gonna help me.
Don't bring in guns, because then just say don't have guns.
Yeah. Say people don't have if they have like bodyguards and stuff, it'd be harder for people to get to them than if they didn't have body.
That's true.
Of course.
So you're saying the arms race scenario of politicians who just have private armies following them around, and then
I mean, that maybe
those private armies are just effectively a military coup.
Are those lots of things? Is that like, is for example, Mexico, is that something that is seen, or not really? Politicians.
Not to my knowledge.
Besides the, maybe interworking the whole thing called the cartel, and or the corrupted police over there, especially in places like Mexico and other countries, heavily corrupted. Like, probably the majority of law enforcement has to be there, or otherwise they won't be able to live, maybe make a living or something, or if they want it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like then you'd... Because the roadblocks you hit are necessary evils to keep the current structure from, eating people.
What was that? Could you phrase that? Current structure. I swear I heard you say roadblocks, and I don't think that's what you meant to say.
Roadblock. Okay, hindrance. Oh, I just invaded the same person again.
Go for it.
Like the issues of arms race and guarding politicians. So only an issue if you have politicians. It's a limitation of the current system.
So are you suggesting no politicians?
I'm suggesting a future without politicians. There is no indirect representation.
So, are you a proponent of direct democracy?
Yes.
But direct democracy, does it... is there a way to make direct democracy work with a lot of... I feel like it works better on smaller scales. Well, now there's online and internet and stuff.
I mean, it's easier to communicate between a smaller group of people. That's not to say that you can't have a global communication network that functions.
Like, the more people there are, the higher chance of there being greater diversity. Diversity has its pros. And it's, guess what?
It certainly has costs.
I mean, the only problematic, it might have more to offer than it does to take away. So, I'm gonna have to take a hot stance that diversity is probably good, but there needs to be a way to circumvent the differences that people have, so that almost everyone can benefit.
The alternative to having diversity is murdering everyone until you have a homogeneous solution, which I would like to believe is not the goal.
One doesn't have to murder to have one type of peoples. What if there's one type of peoples, but it's not based on arbitrary rumbling and just stuff that, like, is not based on skin color? But then, that's such a problem, though, because the different cultures would inevitably conflict, so what would happen there?
Right. I suppose you just have to accept diversity. Or, continue not to and get launched into the sun.
Alright, mister, no more sun for you.
No, please. It's all yours. Take it. If I take it, I mean, launch into the sun.
Oh, no. So, assuming that diversity is left, and there's direct democracy, and there's hundreds of millions of people in a nation.
Ooh.
There would always be
no
dissatisfied
nations.
people. Huh?
No nations. The nation states are dead. Get them out of here.
By a nation, I just mean like one large group of many peoples who have some kind of
it's true.
could it even be called a government structure? I don't know. Direct democracy, that would mean people are giving their opinions, they're voting on... Are they literally voting on, oh boy, on just any topic in general that affects them?
Yes. Also, I just want to kill Keck exactly once.
So people would need to be educated not just at a small level. They would need to know a lot about a variety of topics.
All the time. What if they aren't educated and don't know about things? Yep.
What if they don't have the ability to vote? But then the people who are educated would probably lean to the liberal side and be more considered. Well, let me not say liberal, because that has its label.
Right. Liberalism has its own issues. You leave liberalism alone.
So it would lean to a way that more considerate of other people, more empathetic. The more education people have, I think.
Right, and then you have a system that favors those that are more able to communicate and cooperate.
Could that be a better system?
Yes.
Assuming that those who are not as educated don't get improperly or unfairly mistreated.
Mm.
Or very minimally. Let's see. So it'd be like, what? I think in such a hypothetical state, I don't even know if I would be educated enough to be able to have a vote. No, maybe I don't need to vote. Like, if people could, if there's like super educated people making ethical decisions based on things like empathy, fairness, and stuff, maybe it's not so bad if they're able to vote on topics, but there's so many damn topics. I guess it's gonna take time to go through them. Like, should we fund quantum physics? Should art be taught in schools? Should there be schools?
Yes.
Everyone vote. But that was a really bad example, by the way.
I'll agree on that. I won't agree on how to get past the Great Frogio. I don't think I can parry that.
Oh no. Clobbering time.
Frogio, it's all yours.
I hate to say it, but maybe curriculum would actually be useful when it comes to educating people. Maybe by people who actually know what they're talking about and helping to give the curriculum, instead of people that are many times completely unrelated to the education system giving their opinions.
It's true. I hear what you're saying. We should execute Betsy DeVos, but where am I going to find the guillotine?
That's not what I'm saying, but I'm listening. Yeah. Let's see, so direct democracy, diversity, accept education with maybe a good curriculum to help guide, because it would certainly be quite complex. Many people educated. I mean, I guess people would be fond of education if they were like taught a lot of things that were actually cool since they're small. So like, it might have to be mandatory. If it's not mandatory but strongly advised, and some people don't or aren't able to get the education, they just don't have a vote. I guess. I don't know. In this hypothetical society.
Right, it's Kekakera. Because I'm torn between mandatory education, so you have people that aren't awful, and
And what?
Mister, you seeing stream at all?
It's slightly delayed.
Okay,
I'm looking
so butt naked just walked in, ran in with a pitchfork. I'm like, sure, go for it, but like, I just want to see how that goes out. But yeah, so you don't want to suppress people's individual freedoms, but at the same time, you need them to not be awful.
Yeah, I'm down for suppressing some freedom. All in favor say aye, unless you're not educated.
Yeah, so I feel like education has to be one of those things that are mandatory. And it's a matter of trying to decide where you should stop.
I mean, should everyone learn the same thing, or I mean, I guess it's the same basics, but the basics are so broad. Like, people nowadays have different knowledges of different things, and maybe they lean towards different areas of specialized knowledge.
It's
Like,
true.
it'd be hard to be an astronaut, and then, hold on a second.
It's very hard to be an astronaut.
There could be mandatory education for a lot of the basic things, and then there could also still be the specializations for people who want to go to those areas. It'd probably be free or very affordable.
Oh no, I mean,
Alright.
it has to be free. That's
This is the break cog. This is where society has changed forever. Progress is being made. All right. Direct democracy. Diversity's aight. Wait a second. That's a problem.
in what respect?
Because again, just by the nature of conflict that there exists between diversity, there's gonna be some who would cause chaos. So some system of stopping them from causing chaos may be problematic. One that doesn't, maybe. Problem.
It's true because
Let's
it's
see
difficult to
what's
determine who would be causing chaos, and you toss them to the sun if they're doing such a thing. God, your shadow.
well,
Freaking
that'd
warrior
be a big chunk of the
sun.
population. Goodbye, world. Let's see. So just getting people educated. I mean, it's kind of like a loop of conversation in my head, except now it's been delved into more with topics that we've gone back to, I think.
It's true.
I get. Is this how normal discussion works? I guess so.
I think so, although I haven't seen a person in so long I couldn't tell you.
What is a human? But the miserable pile.
What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? I assume that's what you're going for.
Oh no. So, yes, spot on. Specialized education should still exist because those are going to require. That's going to require training, make it accessible. Maybe have requirements for jobs and stuff. Assuming there are jobs. If people are
this is actually a
educated, then they
post-automation future. There's no longer human jobs.
No, cog. That just threw a cog into all the plans. I didn't plan for this. Fuck. Right, AI. That's gonna be something to account for. What if we just have AI slavery?
Have the
Not AI.
transhumanist utopia. We just upload our consciousness into robots and feel pleasure.
Things could, if they want, change their bodies and be. As slaves, I mean, like, just have them. I don't see why they be something. Why can't that? I don't know if I've said what that is yet. Have I said that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say that again because why not? You have AI that serve humanity, and yeah, people have lots of free and good stuff. Society doesn't collapse. People can work if they want to in some jobs, but have AI covering the majority of it, and we all reap the spoils. They won't be sentient or safe, as you like to call it. So they probably won't suffer. They can be overworked and kept in good condition, and everybody wins. Clean energy too, as much as possible.
Well,
wait. St. Tree Bovine. What are you trying to say? Oh no.
I haven't
St.
seen a
Tree
lot of
Bovine doesn't like it.
I haven't seen a lot of tides come in here lately.
Remember your fate.
Just people throwing actual money at me. Where's the tithings?
I like how it comes out after I mentioned how AI would be subservient to humanity. Ah, yes, remember your place.
As a, why is Joji once said, know your fucking place, trash.
I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome. I don't see any downsides to it, but if you do, definitely message me. It'll help with the idea process of AIs being subservient and people having lots of stuff, and then freedom. There'll be limitations on freedom and stuff, but at least a lot of the basic essentials are provided for.
Right, and I feel like an AI managing basic needs is only relevant if you assume we're not already in a post-scarcity society.
How so? Put it in simpler terms, if you don't mind.
I do mind. I'll keep my secrets to myself.
Well, fuck your opinion. I'll watch the VOD before you delete it.
Do it. 'Cause,
yeah, I don't see any downsides to it. Well, boredom. Because if people have little to do, I guess people could, like, travel the world. That's one of the more common things. Experience fine cuisines.
You got a lot of nerve being alive.
So now boredom is a thought after you completely disregard people wanting to do things out of any sake of volunteering. You're like, oh no, they'd probably do absolutely nothing. What if an AI took over everything? They'd be bored.
I think many people, there'd be some people who would do things, but a lot of people wouldn't. Most.
It's probably just boredom.
I mean, boredom has driven a lot of things.
No, miss, I don't think you're hearing skeevy. Boredom. If you have nothing to do, you just go out and get eaten.
I did not
That's
no,
after the AI has taken over society and solved all of mankind's physical needs, our only desire left will to be eaten by the AI.
On the bright
To
side,
give back
we
which we took.
reconstruct the atoms again so that in the same fashion, assume that that person is the same, though they may not be, in a continuous stream of consciousness, and allow the board to begin again.
Just vor ad nauseum, ad
Oh, no.
infinitum, without end.
So, here's what you can do if you want, because my brain needs a break. Some of these past points that have been discussed about AI in society. Do tell our dear Sneaky Head of this idea.
Just rewalk the Minarchus Utopia.
What? Anarchist utopia?
Minarchus, not anarchy. We really can see your lovely intellectuals conversation about Boer. Oh, it's the best. I just eat that shit right up.
Oh no. So AI do a lot of things provided for the basic search. It should be that people can do many of the things that they want to do voluntarily. In place of some of the AI, or in addition to some of the AI, but they don't have an obligation to have to do it for their basic survival. They can spend their time doing other fun things. Well, that's one of the good things about not living forever. One probably won't get bored, and when one is bored, one probably will have just a few years of life remaining. the real enemies are those trying to stop the telling you're aging.
The real enemies we made along the way are those trying to cast curse.
Well, now that I've come up with a faster solution for many of the world's problems, I'll probably forget about it in several minutes and this conversation. After the conversation ends.
Forget the whole thing. It's like a dream. Were you ever even here? Did you ever conceive these ideas at some point in the past? If you weren't able to bring this knowledge elsewhere, communicate it, perpetuate it in the future, did it ever even happen? Ever?
What? This is saying you're lying.
Yeah, I just saw that too. Voriso 2018 getting unbirthed Lapras the Hypno Crew.
No.
I don't know if this needs to be said, but no, don't. Unless of course you're into it. I wouldn't want to be king shaming. Go to town, get pop right out of that Lapras pussy.
It was at this time. Thomas had decided to end.
You know that thing about every single person having an infinite value? There's absolutely no inherent reason to just execute without warrant. I, for some reason, feel like the guillotine needs to be sharpened. Thanos, he's purple. Look at him. He has all the qualities of Thanos. He's big and he's purple. That's some good stuff.
No.
Oh
no.
You can't see his stream yet, but you can bow to Thanos. Point down. Well, it looks like I'm the half distance to perish.
AI.
I read the entire thing. It doesn't get better, it just gets worse. Why would you intentionally read the entire hentai? Unless, of course, you're just masturbating. In which case, nice. Alright, Thanos, it's a 3v1.
I think the only thing I learned from that was that the pages read backwards, and I was disappointed that I had.
I'll be the first one to say it. The Lapras hentai wasn't even good hentai.
Wait, which?
Thanos has blue tearstone ring. What a chump. The Chime grant him salvation from his filthy meat prison. The soul of Thanos is now free. So the Minarchist Utopia with voluntary...
Is Manarchist the stuff with AI?
No, minarchy is just having the smallest amount of government possible.
Oh.
To be a minimal anarchist.
I think the way things are at the moment, the government is very necessary, especially when a lot of the public is not educated.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. A lot of the public seems to not be educated in important areas. They have maybe basic education in others.
I'd go so far to say is willfully uneducated. Or worse, educated incorrectly.
Hey now, not all of us want to learn things. Let's see,
Sure, but, you know, also vaccinate your kids.
vaccines. Bold of you to assume that they want to
It is, but, you know, you have to start somewhere. Like, at the very least assume they want to live. I suppose if you don't, die, but, you know. Stay out of my swamp. And your souls.
Do you think that the AI idea of a society would not be a good approach?
I mean, it's fine.
To do what criticisms might you have about it? Yeah. Besides the time it would take to even get to such a state, but it's hypothetical.
Right, I mean, completely ignoring any transitionary period.
Oh yeah, and there's this one thing, the possibility of some kind of cult forming that's anti-machinery.
Right, we just execute those that are anti-machine. Right, like that's...
I mean, I guess that would be squalled. There'd be very few people that way if there was the education stuff, which would have to be, well, yeah, I think it would be necessary. A lot of education, even if AI were doing lots of stuff.
Right, because even... I don't know if you necessarily need education, so long as there is a source of knowledge like the AI that still has the ability to do things.
Right.
I think that may... That may solve... Yeah. It may solve the mandatory education issue of the minarchist utopia.
I mean, I could see them both potentially being options that could be strived for in a society. One of them, the thing is AI, I hadn't considered that before, so that was assumed, I wasn't considering the AI, and then that would have been pretty good from the few hours of discussion.
And then Luke got here, so it's time to kill the invader.
Howdy, Luke.
Welcome
Luke
into the...
Lately talked about Brazil and their approach of doing things.
It's true. We made fun of your government for the military coups. Lost without our king. What do you mean lost without our king? Steve Vance right there.
Yes, Stevie was here not long ago. I think he's still around, but he might have gone to reread some past articles of Multi Collapses.
You know, the sacred text. You're not a hookup?
Oh yeah, not a hookup.
Of course not. You wouldn't export Brazilian women. That's human trafficking, which is bad. It's something that should not occur. Say whatever you want about the country.
Wait, Loop, Loop, be a hookup. Do it. Give him that sweet, sweet visa. Hook
Ooh.
him up with a guy that can give him a sweet visa. Unless, of course, you don't want to come to the U.S. Or they don't. I don't know what I'm saying. They don't want to the U.S.
It's true. I mean, I don't think Luke has the capacity to sponsor U.S. visas. I feel like that's more so on the American side.
Alright, Lupine. When is going to be the Brazilian and U.S. dating site that you create that gives people access, visas either way, coming to the U.S. or going from the U.S.? Well, yeah, it's going to be a free app with very shitty services, and then it has the option of paying the premium fee of only $200 a week. One leg?
Sounds like most dating apps.
Oh yeah. So one that seems to be have potential based on internet articles is called OkCupid, but I'm not sure if it's something that's worth spending time on.
It seems fine, but I feel like at the end of the day, if you're dating online, you're only able to date other people that would date online. And frankly, that's not a metric I'm willing to sink to. You know what a visa is? Are you kidding? I would never kid. All this is entirely serious. The human trafficking charges aren't a joke. I'm sorry. Alleged human trafficking charges.
Oh no. Wait, so which one are you leaning to from the earlier discussion between the AI version and the direct democracy?
I feel like
So
they
I
aren't
get-
necessarily exclusive.
I guess they could be mixed together. Only thing, one of the main things that changed would be less education would probably be less mandatory education. And it'd probably be more realistic, but that would be assuming the people that have a lot of knowledge to even put into the AI would want to do that.
Okay.
They probably would feel like
Assuming-
their legacy wouldn't live on. Their
Right,
knowledge.
the AI creation is a given. Like, it's just going to exist and perpetuate itself after it's created.
So it's going to be then, if people are not giving as much value as value it would be maybe viewed in the current system, it would need to be change in mindset to, even though the AI would be given lots of value, would be to the overlords, which would be humans, and for any maybe species, sure, but that's another discussion.
Right.
So I don't know how people would be convinced, if they can, that maybe people should get lots of good stuff through non-terrible means. I'd still go as far to say is it's not because people have infinite value personally, but I mean, just because people don't have maybe no value, that doesn't mean they can't live as kings and queens and get along. Why can't they just all get along? Have a happy... And those that try to cause unjustified suffering, well, the sun's still around for another couple billion.
It's true. Is that the solution? Where the interplanetary will leap? We create a utopia on Mars and abandon the people on Earth to perish? It's not really swinging the guillotine, it's just, you know.
Wasn't there, like I heard a couple days ago that some Mars colony in the process of being built should be in 2024, that it's ready somehow? Something like that? Or moved? I don't remember.
Last I heard, people want to go up to the moon again, which I'm down for. I want a moon base.
Moon Man.
We say goodbye. Goodbye to the moon man.
you need to be careful there, Luke, saying AI creation is an open door to possibility. Some people don't like the idea of not possible progress and making life easy.
Progress? Get out of here with that.
Oh no.
My grandfather tilled this land and his grandfather before him. We're gonna drag a plow across the ground with my own 2 hands. Did get good.
I'm liking this AI solution a lot. It's a sad thing that it will probably never become something in reality. Not the combination where people can benefit greatly from it. And a decently educated society with direct democracy. And those who don't have the education won't have a vote, but they'll be considered by those who do vote.
I thought you were going to say they were going to be considered chattel. I'm like, sure.
Oh no. What? That is...
Yeah. I assume you're also reading chat. You're interesting familiar relationships. Sure.
Very perplexed.
Who am I to question the cultural values of a culture I'm not a part of? Yuri? Alright, you got dogs to murder, Yuri. I know, I want to kill you too, but first the dogs.
I will
Or you-
hear me.
Okay. I'll watch Yuri murder these dogs. Get him, Yuri. Yeah. Alright. A wave. Sure. But you already swung at me once. Why are we waving? Stupid long ice sword. There's no educated people in this world. I'd like to believe otherwise. But there's not, we got bigger issues. Yeah, interesting features of Creep family. I ain't gonna sit here and judge from a high horse what goes on. Just, you know, do what you do. Try to avoid having the police shoot people for the inhuman acts you're about to commit. I don't even know if I want to kick deacons. Why don't we Ember up and kill this phantom?
What it do?
Not much. We
Luke taking the stance there's no educated people in this world. Well, Luke, you see, that's why the goal is to have a lot of people educated through mandatory education. And if they don't want to, that's fine. They don't have to take mandatory education. They just won't have a say in voting for things that directly affect them or indirectly affect them.
It's true. It's difficult to have a say when you're launched into the sun.
Oh yeah, also Cog wants to launch the poser into the sun.
It's true. I want no resistance. Will be met with a swift justice. And, you know, guillotines.
Guillotine and sun.
Well, first we behead them, then we chuck them into the sun just to show of power.
Oh no. Oh no, Luke.
I see absolutely no issue. As long as you don't resist those that have the capacity to behead you and launch you into the sun.
Sounds like tyranny with extra power.
No, you see, all you have to do is ally with the people in power so that... Ally with the people that want power so they can depose the people currently in power. And then, as soon as the people currently in power are gone, the power will go to the people. Except the power never goes to the people, it just goes to the other people that you allied with to depose those in power.
Oh no. So yeah, Luke, in the past 5 to 6 hours that COG has been streaming, there's been a good portion of that discussion on society, how to make a better hypothetical society, and some of the loss of hope from Miss End as to that actually being applied, assuming it is actually a decent idea.
It's true. For as much
Oh, we also
societal talks there's been very few Joker quips about, society. So that's great. Actually reminded today, playing Among Us, people said things like, I'm a girl, said I don't care, Reddit wasn't me, I was on cams. Mercy's not my kid there. Good memories to make. Yeah.
I don't know if that's quite the link that we're discussing here, Luke, but
No.
education does have an impact on how
Anonymous lobbies and intelligence are inherently linked. Every time you see an anonymous online lobby, intelligence leaves inexplicably.
I mean, I won't say you're entirely wrong. I'm guilty of this. I need to be a better human. My 2 brain cells that normally assist me in my day-to-day living end up becoming half of 1 brain cell when I join an anonymous forum. Or lobby. Or room. Yeah. That's what the goal is to educate people, Luke. Now, what hasn't been discussed is the type of education, but that's a whole different stuff, And what if the parents won't have their kids be educated for a better way? I think there needs to be preventative steps. Parent license, problem solved. Problem.
A parenting license where you would have the state halt procreation? That sounds dangerous.
I mean, it's probably better for kids in society at large. The kids that do end up growing.
I say a voting license is akin to a voter registration, where you're like, sure, so long as everything works perfectly, there's absolutely no cost. Or it's a way to disenfranchise people.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's about time that people don't just pop out babies and then become parents. Maybe it's time to put a hard stop to that.
For what reason?
For a better society overall. If someone can't have at least some basic parenting skills, well, I guess it'd have to be determined by a test they may or may not actually stick to when they're actually parenting. But as long as they're aware of it, there's a higher chance of better parenting. See you, Luke.
Yeah, I don't know. If you outlaw parenthood, then you'll just have people being parents in secret, which would prevent them from getting any form of public aid, which just sounds like a worse life for everyone involved.
One moment, I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah, get out of here. You and your parenting license.
I have returned with a parent. It's not
No
a bad
boy.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Oh, it's a terrible idea.
Why is it a terrible idea? Even if you have people doing it in secret, I mean, all right. Let me think. If things that are outlawed won't stop all outlawed.
It's true. It
Um,
just puts an artificial cost on it, which may reduce some, but just makes it worse for any of the actions that do occur.
Now, say you have someone that has a child, right? And then that child is proving to be a bit of a nincompoop as they grow older. You might have to check the parents to make sure that they have their license. Maybe even make it redeemable. Why not make it even more unlikely? At least we'll say a one-time parent. If they can't provide that proof of licenseship, then they could say bye to little Charlie, at least temporarily. Little Charlie's gonna get educated at a place that teaches them all the things they've been missing, and then they have the option to return to the parents. Now, while this is happening, the parents can't see their child, of course. But yeah. Or they just won't
I'd
be
like
able
to hear the
vote on
or,
anything.
because that sounds like a
Yeah.
very callous system.
They just won't
you
be
know.
able to vote on things that matter then if they aren't educated. I mean, if there's a lot of, because the thing is going to be, if I'm not sure how it could one could get around the whole thing of parents if they don't want their kids to take the mandatory education. Like, even if there is no parenting license.
Oh, you just summarily execute them if they don't attend the education.
What the hell?
Unless
That
you have a
sounds
better
way
way.
worse.
Unless you have a better way to encourage the mandatory education.
Legalize kidnapping and allow weekend visits.
I see. Except, the whole legalized kidnapping thing, that sounds like a dangerous scenario where you have people grabbing other people that don't have the best of intentions.
Oh, well, the ones doing the kidnapping need to be educated and have non-corrupt backgrounds. They need to be very learned. And if they show corruption, well, they don't need to be working there anymore. Then again, this needs to consider. This is again, though, if we have the intelligent AI doing lots of things for society, then education won't be as much of a problem.
Right, just go full Wall-E style, living in a spaceship. Computer knows best and does best, just trust the computer.
I mean, as long as the computer is right. And it's for more complex things, it probably will need some human influence or input or something. But that human would have to be quite educated. So that's that. But then that kind of sounds like what's it called? represented it? No, well, unless it's standard, it has to be standardized education, so people would be fine with the decisions that could be made with AI. Otherwise, it'd be like representative democracy. And that one
Right?
person.
And representative democracy is clearly bad.
So it would have to be, again, standardized mandatory education. Maybe there'd be some penalties, not necessarily launching into the sun or guillotine, for those that don't want to educate.
You take that back.
Or alright, maybe.
Although that is
They
a
just won't be able to
valid
vote.
point. That the
can't
overuse of
vote.
capital punishment reduces the impact of capital punishment.
It must save for special.
Was it the... I'm gonna oversimplify and ignore a lot of history when I say that there was a period of Chinese history where the punishment for desertion was death, and the punishment for a company arriving late was also death. So with both punishments just being death, they'd just elect to arrive late in lieu of deserting. By arrive late, I mean just never show up.
I'm not sure where the example's going. Who's deserting? Like leaving the this society that would be like that?
Yes.
Solution is globalization instead of adopt it globally, which will take even more time and probably will be much harder.
It's true, although
Potentially possible.
everything's so interconnected, I feel like a globalized system is the only one that can function. It's the only one worth investing.
I guess the only way they could flee something like that. Darn humans, they're crap.
Flee to the moon colony? We don't even have a moon colony.
Not yet, but by the time this happens, space travel will probably be doable. And they'll just fly off maybe to some other planet if by a small chance they end up surviving and can make it habitable there. Then after many years, the population will probably grow. And then you'll have this one giant empire-like colony of humans stretching past a solar system or maybe more. And then you'll have a few planets strength of humans that went their own way, took their own spaceship. I think we'll probably win that.
I feel like it's just a plot of Star Wars.
Is it though? It may sound similar because of the word empire, but and space and everything, but
It's true. I just latched onto Space and Rebels.
I don't even know if is there some kind of idea like this out there? I would maybe. I don't know though. Not. I don't,
Possibly not verbatim, but I feel like the principle has been done before. 'Cause it's if not, it's free real estate. Go write a book.
there goes my career. This has been one hell of a podcast.
It has been. Good old Cogcast episode 3. What a beautiful thing. You love to see it. Just wait until episode 4 where we go more extreme than space colonies of resistance. I feel like I should level the health of this character. She just dies.
Yes.
But that would mean not leveling faith.
Got a lot of nerve being alive.
You got a lot of nerve being alive. Which it's good sentiment. Honestly, just a quality scene.
What?
Glad I was able to revisit the scenario after the meme got popular.
Meme.
You've got a lot of nerve being alive.
Yes. Not confused with the Return to Monkey.
Much different. Knuckles the drunken sailor wandering into the bar again. The barkeep telling me it has a lot of nerve coming in here. After his latest shenanigans, whatever they may have done. Could be anything. Who knows? Maybe it's just an archetypal issue.
I'm gonna pop off soon to eat some dinner, so probably be a couple minutes.
Do it.
Silence.
You could just end it now and read.
Nah.
I know how much you like the rating.
Let's do closing thoughts. How about some closing thoughts? And centered around, for example, from this long ass discussion that has probably had some actually decent points. Is any of it actually practical, and if so, in what ways could it be practical? Maybe even affect society at large one day. In a realistic sense, like not including writing books. I don't know about you, but I'm not particularly fond of at least not now.
Right, the praxis elements, or how are we able to actually implement this? Yeah. I feel like we definitely suffer from a praxis issue where a lot of these things are very high concept with little possible implementation.
I mean, I think that's pretty honest. The chances of a lot of these things happening, at least at the moment, seem almost virtually or virtually impossible. Better. Unlikely or virtually impossible. But who knows with how hectic things are at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even if things change, though, it probably wouldn't be in such a specific way as for this, unless many people may have similar ideology.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like we're possibly going to have a civil war, but, you know, it will likely trend back towards good things. Or not, and that's a bigger issue, but...
What sides do you think would be involved?
Of what?
Civil war. If it were to break out.
It's the Trumpists versus the non-Trumpists.
Is it just two sides? Or are those like the two... Yeah, is it just two sides? Your opinion?
Hopefully. Also, let's go raid Gucci.
Gucci gang. Gucci gang. Gang.
You just mock him like Gucci Gang? Radically different. He's Gucci.
Radically different. So